Welcome to the deep dive. Usually when you tune into a massive global sporting event, there's this expectation of just absolute precision.
Right, like a perfectly choreographed routine.
Exactly, like a finely tuned orchestra. The pitch is perfectly manicured, the tactical setups are flawless, and the players, especially at the World Cup, they're treated like these untouchable, infallible machines.
Yeah, we expect to see chess played on grass, basically, where every single move is calculated and executed without, a single misstep.
But then you expect chess on grass, and you step into the reality of the sources we're unpacking today, and suddenly that pristine orchestra is playing in a literal hurricane while the stage is like actively collapsing around them.
It's a complete mess.
It really is. So today we are digging into a stack of broadcast highlights from ITV Sport. They covered two wildly eventful, almost chaotic matches from the 2026 FIFA World Cup.
Right, the France versus Iraq game and Norway taking on Senegal.
Yeah, France against Iraq in Philadelphia, and that Norway-Senegal matchup. And my main takeaway after watching these ITV Sport clips, this does not look like a showcase of athletic perfection. It looked like a brutal survival test.
It really does. And it completely skews how we evaluate a team's performance, right? Because when you introduce the kind of environmental and psychological chaos we saw in these matches, you aren't just measuring athletic ability anymore.
Or even tactical brilliance.
Exactly. You are measuring human psychology under extreme duress.
And that is exactly our mission for this deep dive. We want to explore what happens when elite athletic execution violently collides with extreme, uncontrollable elements like freak weather and honestly highly preventable human errors.
Yeah, those inexplicable mistakes.
Right. Because for you listening, whether you're a massive football fan or you just find human psychology fascinating, there is a profound lesson here about performance under pressure. So, okay, let's unpack this. As a spectator, we expect perfection at the World Cup, but these sources show a tournament that looks more like a survival test. Is the true mark of a champion just who handles the chaos best?
I think that is the crucial lens to view this through. The overarching theme across all these ITV sport broadcasts is that high-stakes environments, they inevitably force mistakes.
Nobody is immune.
No one. The tactical setups will break down, but what separates a good team from a legendary team, and really what defines a generational superstar, is the ability to ruthlessly, almost coldly, capitalize on those fleeting moments of weakness.
Just pouncing on the errors.
Exactly. It's not about playing a perfect game. It's about being the ultimate predator when the opponent's perfection inevitably cracks.
Man, and that expectation of perfection completely shatters when you throw in uncontrollable elements. Like, look at what happened with the weather in Philadelphia during that France versus Iraq match.
Oh, the storm.
Yeah, we are talking about a massive monsoon-type storm rolling through the city right in the middle of a World Cup knockout scenario.
A storm so severe it resulted in a staggering 130-minute break between proceedings, just waiting before the second half could even get underway.
130 minutes. That's over 2 hours of just sitting there.
Right. Plus, there was a looming risk of lightning, forcing the officials to keep a really watchful eye on the forecast while the game actually continued in pouring rain at times.
So the pitch becomes waterlogged, the ball moves differently.
Yeah, and every physical action takes twice as much effort in those conditions.
And yet, right in the thick of this dramatic, incredibly difficult stage, you have Kylian Mbappé. He's earning his 100th cap for his country, meaning his 100th official appearance for the French national team, which is a massive milestone.
An incredible achievement.
And he just steps up and scores this brilliant first goal. He's dribbling inside, finds the far post with an absolute bullet of a shot. It's in the net before the goalkeeper can even react. And the broadcast quotes him from the day before the match saying, "We are writing the pages of history here."
He certainly was. That goal was his 15th at the World Cup overall. He's just operating on a completely different frequency than the rest of the players on that pitch.
See, here's where it gets really interesting to me. I'm trying to put myself in the shoes of these athletes. You are playing the most high-stakes match of your life.
Right.
You go into the locker room at halftime, and instead of a quick 15-minute breather to grab some water and review tactics, You are sitting there for over 2 hours while a literal monsoon blows through.
Just waiting in wet gear.
Yeah. And then you have to go back out and sprint in the pouring rain. It's like running half a marathon, sitting in a dentist's waiting room for 2 hours, and then having to instantly sprint the final 13 miles. Like, how does a team not completely lose its momentum in its mind?
It's an incredible shock to the system, both physically and psychologically. Physically, your muscles cool down, your lactic acid settles, your adrenaline spikes, and then completely crashes.
So you're basically starting from zero again.
Exactly. The trainers are scrambling to keep muscles warm, monitor nutrition, and manage hydration for a delay of an unknown length. You have to essentially undergo a second pre-match warm-up, but with a body that has already been through the ringer of World Cup intensity.
Wow.
But tactically, this is where it gets fascinating. Extreme weather and massive delays completely disrupt a team's tactical rhythm. Football is a game of flow, spatial awareness, and subconscious anticipation.
Right.
When you sit in a locker room for 130 minutes, that flow is just gone.
And I imagine you start dwelling on the stakes, too. Like, the longer you sit, the more you think about what happens if you lose.
Precisely. It demands immense mental fortitude to switch that competitive flow back on without letting the anxiety take over. And what's crucial to note from the sources is that Iraq actually showed incredible resilience early on.
They really did.
Yeah, the delay tested both sides equally. Iraq wasn't just rolling over and accepting defeat against a superior French side.
Yeah, the highlights show some really dangerous moments from Iraq shortly after the restart. You had Doski delivering this fantastic service down the line, putting in really dangerous crosses that the French defense struggled to deal with.
Very true.
And El Hamdi had this great movement where he barely missed a toe poke at the far post.
Which proves that Iraq had the tactical blueprint to cause problems. Doski getting up and down that line showed they were willing to attack the space France was leaving behind.
So the delay kind of leveled the playing field for a second.
It did, for a brief window. But the superstars eventually find their footing, and that's when the exhaustion begins to tell a very different story.
Right, because that kind of cognitive overload doesn't just make players physically tired. It directly breeds the kind of catastrophic errors that doomed Iraq.
Oh, absolutely.
Because Iraq looked like they were genuinely getting comfortable in the game, finding their rhythm, and then a massive catastrophic mix-up at the back destroys their chances entirely.
It is the kind of error that will haunt a player's nightmares for the rest of their career.
Literally a nightmare scenario. The Iraqi goalkeeper, Zahid, goes to take a goal kick. This is the most fundamental routine action in the sport. He does it hundreds of times a week.
Muscle memory.
And he completely misses it. Just whiffs. The ball goes directly to Ousmane Dembélé. Dembélé instantly finds Mbappé all alone in front of goal, and Mbappé scores his second of the night.
Just unbelievable.
Right. And this is his 16th World Cup goal, marking his 6th World Cup brace, meaning he scored 2 goals in a single World Cup match 6 separate times.
It was a total gift of a goal, wrapped and handed to the most lethal forward on the planet.
And it didn't stop there. Later on, Michael Lisi, who was having a spectacular game, having already chipped the keeper and hit the crossbar earlier, executes this absolutely perfect turn to feed Dembélé.
Beautiful play.
Yeah, Dembélé slots a shot into the far post, and just like that, France cruises to a 3-0 victory and enters the last 32.
The game just unraveled for Iraq in the blink of an eye. Years of preparation gone in a matter of seconds.
Okay, I hear you on the mental fatigue from the 130-minute weather delay, but I have to push back a little here.
Sure.
These are elite athletes trained specifically for extreme pressure and exhaustion. Is a weather delay really enough of an excuse for a professional, world-class goalkeeper to completely whiff a basic goal kick? It feels like an amateur mistake on the biggest stage imaginable.
It does look amateurish, I'll give you that. But we have to look at the biomechanics of cognitive fatigue. Physical fatigue very quickly morphs into cognitive fatigue. The central nervous system simply gets overloaded.
Okay, so it's a neurological thing.
Exactly. A goal kick requires a specific, highly practiced biomechanical sequence. The planting of the foot, the angle of the hips, the visual tracking of the ball, the follow-through. When a player is fresh, that sequence is completely subconscious.
So it's almost like muscle memory just vanishes.
Not vanishes, but it gets interrupted. Think of the brain like a computer's RAM. Usually, running the goal kick program takes almost zero processing power.
Because it's running in the background.
Right. But right now, Zahid's mental RAM is completely maxed out. He's processing the 130-minute delay, the monsoon conditions, the slippery pitch, the fact that Kylian Mbappé is pressing him, and the monumental stakes of a World Cup knockout game.
That is a lot of open tabs.
His system is so overloaded that when he asks his body to execute this basic keystroke kicking the ball, the system just hangs. Conscious thought interrupts subconscious flow. He overthinks the plant foot, his depth perception falters by a fraction of an inch, and he completely misses.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. It's exactly like having too many browser tabs open until the entire computer freezes up.
Exactly that.
And against a team like France, one momentary system crash completely unravels 90 minutes of hard work. The margins shift from a competitive match to a 3-0 blowout purely because of a localized breakdown in human focus.
Yep. It's not that France out-tacticed them in that specific moment. They just maintained their structural integrity, waited for the human glitch to happen on the other side, and then ruthlessly pounced.
And France wasn't the only team benefiting from those catastrophic defensive glitches. Over in the Norway versus Senegal match, we see a very similar psychological dynamic playing out, but centered around a different generational talent waiting to capitalize.
Erling Haaland, the Predator himself.
Exactly.
This match had a completely different vibe than the storm in Philadelphia, but the human errors from veteran players were just as glaring.
So let's look at the key details from the ITV Sport highlights here. Early on, Senegal's elite center back, Kalidou Koulibaly, who is a veteran, a total rock at the back, makes a really poor, sloppy pass.
So uncharacteristic for him.
Yeah, and this mistake allows Norway's substitute, Pedersen, to score his first international goal. But the really bizarre part of this sequence is Senegal's goalkeeper, Edouard Mendy.
Mendy was having a game of absolute extremes. It was almost jarring to watch.
Totally jarring. The broadcast shows him making these magnificent, logic-defying saves. At one point, he stops this close-range downward header by Aya that had absolutely no business being saved.
A phenomenal reflex save.
Right. The commentators are baffled, saying they have no idea how he kept it out. But then on Pedersen's goal, it's a relatively basic low shot. And Mendy just lets it slip right through him.
Yeah, just right through his hands.
The commentators are emphatic that he absolutely should have saved it without a doubt.
You're seeing two elite players, Koulibaly and Mendy, compounding each other's mistakes in a matter of seconds.
It's wild to me. I mean, Mendy is making point-blank superhuman saves on the goal line, where he has zero time to react and just goes on pure instinct.
Yeah.
But then he lets a basic low shot slip by when he actually has a moment to read it and set his feet.
It's paradoxical.
It's like acing the hardest final exam in advanced quantum physics, but then failing the class because you spelled your own name wrong on the front of the paper. Is it just the sheer pressure of having a player like Haaland lurking on the pitch that forces these incredibly uncharacteristic errors?
You've hit on something vital there. It's what tactical analysts call offensive gravity.
Offensive gravity?
Yeah. An elite striker like Erling Haaland warps the entire defensive structure of the opposing team just by existing on the pitch. The sources describe Haaland's movement in this game as magnificent, specifically noting how he drifts perfectly between Senegal's left center back and the left back.
He's living in the blind spots. He's intentionally standing where neither defender wants to take responsibility for him.
That's the mechanism of his gravity. He occupies the exact spatial zone where defensive responsibility is ambiguous.
Like, whose guy is he?
Exactly. The center back thinks, is he my man, or should the left back take him? This ambiguity creates a constant low-level panic in the defensive line. Senegal's defenders are dedicating so much subconscious processing power to asking, where is Haaland? Is he making a run? That their primary tasks suffer.
The RAM is overloaded again.
Setting your feet for a low shot or executing a simple pass out of the back like Koulibaly tried to do suddenly becomes incredibly difficult because part of your brain is absolutely terrified of what Haaland is doing behind you.
And then Norway uses that panic against them, because shortly after, you add Martin Ødegaard to the mix. The highlights show Norway's captain threading an impossibly accurate pass to Haaland. When Ødegaard is on the ball looking up, he has options on either side.
Right, he's pulling the string.
And the defense has to guess where the ball is going.
And because of that underlying panic we just talked about, Koulibaly hesitates. The geometry of the attack overwhelms him, and he goes to ground entirely too early to try and intercept the pass.
He basically just slides in desperately.
It's a desperation move. Haaland receives it and finishes brilliantly by lifting it high over Mendy. The slightest hesitation by a world-class defender is instantly punished.
Koulibaly going to ground early.